We'll begin with a reign of terror. A few murders here and there.
Hello, children of the night. Welcome back to Blood and Guts HHN. With me, as always, Mad Matt. How's it going, Matt?
I'm doing fantastic, Evil Adam, because we've reviewed the houses, we've ranked the houses, we reviewed the scare zones, ranked the scare zones. Now we can finally put a big old bow on HHN 33 by going over the house tour, which we had promised. And I know we got a nice treat for our fans this evening, where we'll give a little bit of the facts that we know about the house, but then we'll actually just play some of the clips, pictures that we got in there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a lot of fun. How about yourself? How are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's like you said, it's going to be a lot, kind of like a slideshow of just some of our best photos that we've taken in the houses. We love going into houses with the lights on, getting those photos, and just immersing ourselves.
Yep.
And I do believe that when you go in with the lights on tour,
Yeah.
it provides an extra experience that you don't get to see at night, for one, and for two, when you do go in at night, you kind of recognize some of the stuff that you saw with the lights on that normally you wouldn't. You're like, oh, look, here's where she talked about the this. And before we kick it off, actually, let's give a shout out to our tour guide this year, Avalon.
Yeah.
She was awesome. She was really awesome. What a really good tour guide she was.
She was.
A lot of facts, a lot of things that, Matt and I are what we call button pushers. So we like to ask the hard questions. And so there's a lot of questions that we ask her that she could neither confirm nor deny, which you're going to see in this video here.
Yeah.
So,
And like I said, fans, if it's something that you've never done, the Lights on Tour, we definitely say if you're a diehard HHN fan, it's something we do highly recommend.
Yep.
If you're down there for like one night, maybe two for the event, and you don't have a lot of time, then maybe you wouldn't be able to squeeze it in there. But if you ever have a chance to put it on your bucket list and do it, we highly recommend it because, like Evil Adam stated, there's things you will see during that Lights on Tour and that you'll discuss that you're not going to see walking through the conga line through the house, just getting in there real quick and then getting out in 4 minutes, because you spend at least 30 minutes, I'd say, in each house. Maybe
probably more to an hour too.
Yeah. So, like I said, it's definitely a lot of fun, a lot of information, a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. So, we definitely highly recommend it. So, moving on then, starting with the first house that we had on our tour was Goblins Feast. And as you remember, that code name for that house was Sunday. So, as you know, you'll actually see this throughout the houses. They have the code name. So, this year it was for desserts. So, there were specific rooms where you might see an ice cream sundae, which this one, it was more of a human ice cream sundae they'd done. So some of the behind the scenes stuff that stood out to me. First thing, this is when we confirmed when we went to the event that this was one of our favorite house designers. Avalon let us know that Dylan Koloff done this house.
Yep.
And she actually, talks about how she's amazed at how many people know of Koloff's work and how they're always excited to see what house he has. So if you're definitely a diehard, you know Dead Man's Pier, this house,
Blood Moon
last year. Like I said, he never disappoints. So
that's right.
One of the things I know that really stood out this house too, that was one of the questions you asked. There was a witch's pot.
Yeah, cauldron in there.
Or cauldron, yeah. There wasn't a witch in this one, but what was the question that you asked that she could not confirm nor deny?
Yeah, I had actually asked her, is this the same cauldron? Because there's a name for this effect, and I can't remember for the life of me what she called it, but it has a specific name where there's a light and a smoke device inside the cauldron which provides that effect of something in there cooking up.
Right.
And if you go back to Wicked Growth Realm of the Pumpkin,
right,
from 30, get back in there, ingredient, the witch in there. This one had a similar effect, and I had asked her, is this the cauldron from
Wicked Growth?
Wicked Growth, and she kind of stopped for a second. She could not confirm nor deny.
She's like, that's a good question.
Yeah, and kind of left us hanging on that one. But we, in our heart of hearts, believe this is the same cauldron.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the animatronic skeleton popping up from it. So
Right. But oh man,
what a great house!
I love that house. I love what Koloff does and what she mentions too. How you can be right when you get out of the tavern, you can look back and you actually see 2, maybe 3 rooms that you're getting ready to go into or that you've already been to. And Koloff does a great job. It's almost like a misdirection because then you got your eyes looking one way, then boom, when you walk forward, you're walking right into a scare.
Yep.
So Avalon did a great job of pointing this out and where those boo holes would be. Also found out on the tour there was an interesting fact how the hand that comes out of the tree, and it didn't work the weeks we were there.
Yeah,
but
we
we heard
didn't get
they
to see
finally
it.
did get working, but it was a repurpose.
We got confirmation from Fear and Beer
Yeah.
that it works, so we'll take their word that it works.
Absolutely, but that the hand itself was a repurposed King Kong hand.
Mm-hmm.
So that was awesome, and come to find out too, like we mentioned this in the previous videos, but we found this out on the tour that big Goblin King towards the end that we thought was a animatronic, was not an animatronic, but in fact it was a puppet. But we'll go ahead and move on with the tour. And the route that we took from Goblin's Feast was Monsters Eternal Bloodlines. And so from the very beginning, well, before I get too far ahead, this one's code name was Donut.
Yep.
So, I mean, I can't remember if she explained how they got that or not. I remember seeing the donut in the house, but I can't remember the explanation. But the beauty of this house and the beauty of the tours when you first walk in, she explains that snow effect, and then you're out there in that cemetery and see all the snow, and you see Van Helsing's granddaughter. So it was a great way on the tour to set up what was going on. And we talked about in our previous videos how what this house lacked was if you didn't get all the scares or hit everything in the house right, you wouldn't know what was going on.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Friends and Fiends, this was the beauty of this house because it breaks down everything. It's like when you go into the first room into the crypt on the backdrop. I didn't even notice it the first time I went in the house, but that you actually see Dracula and Van Helsing fighting, like where it's like backlit and let you know that that's what's going on. So there's a lot of little Easter eggs, a lot of little things that moves this story along. Like when you go into a transition to another room, if you look at a painting, there'll be things like, for example, when Van Helsing's granddaughter gets beheaded, like the bride takes the body and is taking it back to the crypt.
That is right.
But they have transitions on the wall where if you're not paying attention when you're walking, and if it hadn't been for Avalon pointing those out, I would have totally missed that in this house.
Yep, and the candles, the candle hallway from Graveyard Games and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. You had, and I will say for me personally, you know, although this house was a little lower on my list, doing the tour really brought it, you know, a little better light in my eyes, because I think that the tour really showed me a lot of stuff in this house that was really well done.
Right.
I mean, it's a really, really well done house. I just think as far as the house goes, they bit off more than they could chew, but that's neither here nor there. So go ahead and take a look at these, you know, slides for sure, and you'll see a lot of the details, like the woman on the stairs. Yeah. What else was it? Just the snowy settings and, you know, and all that stuff.
It's beautiful.
It's great
as we go through it. Like you said, one thing I want to talk about too that we learn on the behind the scenes is just seeing like the A-list actors that they call them, where they're actually, they call them like an A actor because they only on set maybe 15, 20 minutes at a time, whereas like your B and C will be on like a shift of maybe 30 to 45 minutes for the go. So you think about the wolf lady on that bungee that actually brings her to you, where she's coming scared. We got to see that behind the scenes and seeing how that worked, and just that pulley system that was on there, and there's the dead horse underneath, and just little things like that Avalon brought out was really cool. And I can't remember if we got a picture of that or not. I can't remember if that was...
I don't think we were allowed to in that one.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because we hadn't talked about that. On tours, as you'll see, friends and fiends, there may be some rooms where we couldn't get any pictures that you hear us talk about, because they'll actually tell you when you walk in, cameras up or cameras down.
Yep.
So as always, you know, we want to make sure that we're doing our best to follow the rules. Sometimes, you know, sometimes we might mess up.
Most of the time we don't follow the rules, but at our beloved horror nights, we follow the rules as much as we can. Next up, guys, we got Major Suites, which was a really, really well done house based on the Scare Zone
Right.
from 31. And I remember when we first got outside, because you're outside for this,
Right.
and you see that facade of the factory. It's really well done, and you have the audio of the don't let the children eat all the candy, and that kind of stuff, and so let's step inside and take a look at the first scene. Really good stuff. It
Yeah.
definitely has that 1950s office with those gumball machines
Right.
that you see first in the first room. And as you go through, you'll see more victims and things like that. But this one also had some guest activated triggers, which they haven't really brought back.
I know last year with Chucky, that was the first house they brought it back since COVID.
Since COVID. But, and it was big in 19 and 29. They had, several years they had them. But this year they brought them back in this house especially. And those were fun because everybody in all our runs were hitting those triggers. And I mean, hell, I did it several times myself too.
Right.
Just because I like that kind of thing. But, this house was really good. You get to really see some of the behind the scenes of the what they call the smashers.
Yeah.
And as the one scene you're going through under the taffy, there are almost like pneumatic hammers that come down above your head and smash and scare the hell out of you. So you have these smashing sounds is why I guess they call them the smashers. But, this house was really, really well done in my opinion, especially with the lights on. And I know that it wasn't very high on your list as well this year, but how did you feel having experienced it behind the scenes?
I'm glad you brought it up because honestly, the tour itself gave me more of appreciation for the house and what they were going for, and just being able to stop and seeing all the good effects that they created, the blood and gore that they created. Like you see some of the teachers that they're caught in that one room
they got tubes of candy going down their throats.
Yeah, exactly.
And being pumped into their body, taffies and things.
That was beautiful. And she actually talked about how in that one effect, how it was like basically like a waterfall, kind of where they're pulling the water in, having that water effect go to where it just looks like they're pouring candy or blood and all that good stuff out there. So moving on the tour, honestly, we can actually break this down now. For the 6-house tour, you do those 3 houses, and this is where we would break for lunch. So we actually went and had us a good meal, came back, and the next house that they had on our list was Insidious.
Yeah, hell of a house.
Oh, yeah. And the code name for this one, like a fun fact for it, was Pudding. And they actually did a good job placing it in the room. They had a nasty old snack pack sitting in there. I can't remember if we got a photo of it or not.
I don't think we did. I don't know if we were allowed to or we just spaced it out.
But like you said, it's a fantastic house. And going through, like, from my mindset, just being taken back to it, when you see that red door, like I said, just walking through and seeing all that, and then you seeing the big house, hearing how Koloff, once again, and she actually mentioned how he does not normally do IPs. And so when I actually heard that he done this house, that was actually a shock to me at the time too, because I didn't know he had his hand in this. I'd already been through the house, but hadn't heard that Koloff had done it.
Just hearing that alone bumped the house up in my mind. Okay, I already know the legend of how scary it is, and before I went in it, and now it's gone up a step in my head.
Yeah.
So and like you said, the facade of the house, going in the rooms, the beginning. She showed us the double window scare, and just kind of flowed along from there. But this house was just it, and a lot of times I've heard a lot of people say too that this house felt really long.
Yeah,
it felt like it took forever. Well, it felt exactly the same way on the tour for me.
Yeah,
so it was great. The rooms with the mannequins.
Yeah.
I don't believe
they're still scary with the lights on.
They're still scary. I'm not going to. You go into a room with 8 or 9 mannequins and they're all positioned different ways, wearing costumes and stuff. You still think they're going to jump out and get you, even though you know they're not going to. And I don't think we were allowed to take photos in that room.
I can't remember if we did. Now, one thing she did, and I know we could take photos of it too, though, it was the effect where you see like the picture. And then next thing you know, like it would drop, and you'd see like one of the ghosts behind it.
Yeah,
and stuff.
scream.
The scream. There you go. And we see that again in another house that we'll talk about in a little bit. But like I said, I thought that was a nice touch how Avalon showed how that worked and let us get good photos of it. So,
all right, children of the night, moving right along, we come to a surprise sleeper hit of the year, Ghostbusters. So let's, of course, we got some selfies and things in front of the Raise a Cult books.
Yep.
There, and you had the hot dog cart.
Yeah.
With the effect of the sewer grate coming up with the slime and the smoke coming up, and then of course from there you go right into Raise a Cult books, as you'll see here in this slide, and yeah, just the details. So much stuff in this room that you could just stand and take photos of all the little marshmallow men and
oh, you hit the nail on the head with that. And awesome thing, I'm glad you brought up the marshmallow men, because Avalon talked about how the tour guides, they're always looking for interesting facts that they can throw out and just random facts they can throw out. And so every day when she's giving the tour, she's trying to count the marshmallow men. So she can be like, hey, guests, you know how many marshmallow men in this house? 150. Well, come to find out that HHN doesn't just, they're not happy with the houses on day one. They're always, it's organic. It's always growing. They'll change things. Some things get taken out. So they actually have a 3D printer where they're just printing more mini marshmallow men every day. So when she comes in, her counts are going up and up. So she realized then she couldn't do that as a trivia.
Didn't they? Am I making this up in my own mind, or did she say they're constantly moving them as well?
Yeah. She said they would move them around.
I mean, there were some that, of course, were placed here for a reason. We're not going to move these, but somehow they would get shuffled in, and some would get moved around, and some would get added in new places where there weren't any before.
Right.
So that's, kind of pretty cool.
You brought up Raise a Cult, like I said, and that takes me back to Ghostbusters 2 when they're in there. That was a nice touch seeing that. But then going into that next room where it was harkening back to the very opening of Ghostbusters Frozen Empire, where I can't remember the name of the Adventure Club or wherever it was in that movie. Right. But they're all frozen in that room. And it's seeing the mannequins in there. You've seen the record player with the hand on it. Of course, it wasn't turned on. But seeing those little details were fantastic. And it was what gave nice touches to this house.
And, and I feel like, now I will say that maybe I'm making this up in my own mind once again. But I feel like even though this is an IP, we were allowed to take a little bit more photos than we were in, say, something like Insidious previously. But,
honestly, I don't think there was... There might not have been a single room where we couldn't take a photo in Ghostbusters.
Thinking back on, I'll have to think on that one.
Because the only thing I know, they didn't want you taking videos of the firehouse, but I mean, we might sneak one in there.
Yeah, yeah.
Welcome back, friends and fiends, and last but not least, on our 6 house tours, we have Monstros, Monsters of Latin America.
Yep.
And to begin with, this code name for this one is a dish I've always heard about, but I've never tried, but it's flan.
Yep.
And for me, this was obviously an awesome house, and Avalon done a great job going into the details of this one. And I know we mentioned the scrims in Insidious. You've seen a lot of these in Monstros as well.
Right.
And I can't remember. We'll see when we get to the slideshow. I can't remember if we got to take as many photos of those.
I got a few of them.
Okay.
There were some towards the end that you could not.
Right.
But the ones at the more of the beginning of the house you could. And I got a few of those in here. But yeah, this house was now I do remember, and what's strange once again is how we spoke about some IPs you felt like you could take more photos. This is actually an original, that was it's a hand-me-down from Hollywood, but for whatever reason, now this house, there were several rooms where we were not allowed to take photos.
Notably, I know you couldn't take them in El Saban's room where we were in the bar. There's a lot of places you couldn't take in that.
I got several in the bar.
I know.
but okay. And you'll see those here because that was a really bloody room. You had a lot of the spine rip effect because that's what El Saban does, of course, is takes your bones and stuffs them in the sack. And so I did sneak a few in this room of the spines because I was like, as soon as she was like, don't take ones of the spines, I was like, I'm getting one of the spines. But,
You knew when she said that you were going to take a picture
I was going to take a picture of it and sneak one in, But yeah, this was a really good house for photos.
I did love when she's talking about the animatronics, like the hand-me-downs, and we got some good photos of those.
Yes, we got some good photos of the. I feel like it was the last 3/4 of the house though. You just couldn't take any at all until you got to that room.
Because that's why we were shocked. Remember, because she even said, surprisingly enough, photos are up for the owl animatronic and the El Saban figure.
For the El Saban, and the owl you could take, but only in that one hallway.
Yeah.
Once you went around the corner into like that butcher shop area, that's where it was. That's what I'm trying to remember. That was that butcher shop area where it had like the meats hanging up. So you had, instead of Sif and stuff and face, you had the meats hanging down. So that one you couldn't do, which was shocking. But
now, one thing too, what just popped in my head, I cannot remember for the life of me the creators of this house's name, but we did find one tidbit is whenever you first enter the house, they have like headstones dedicated to them.
Dedicated to some of the creative and some of the staff. And so that part was really cool. But even that, I don't think we were allowed to take. I don't think we was either. That. We hope that you have enjoyed our slides, our photos that we've taken inside the tour. And as always, we recommend the tour. What are your closing thoughts, Mad Matt?
As usual, I thought the tour was amazing, and I'm looking forward to.
This was a really good tour.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to doing it again next year. My only gripe is I wish we could do the 3-house tour, or we could have got Slaughter Cinema 2 in our tour.
That's it.
But like we mentioned at the beginning, Friends and Fiends, if you have a chance to do the tour and you haven't done it, trust us, you're going to enjoy it. Now, like I said, if you only have one day down there, then obviously you probably need to save your strength for the event later that night. So,
and I will say, just as a final note, closing note, every year we do the tour and we're like, man, that tour was awesome. And then we do the tour the next year. We're like, that tour was awesome. So it's just going to keep remaining that way. It's still going to be awesome.
Well,
it's
before you close, like I said, and one thing that actually makes the tour awesome is Universal has a great job. They do a great job of hiring those tour guides.
Those tour guides are fabulous.
They're knowledgeable. They're personable. They go out of their way to make sure you're enjoying the tour. If you have any questions, like they do their best to answer. There may be some where like I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yep.
But that to me is the secret sauce for these tours.
When these tour guides get guests like us who like to ask the hard questions.
Yeah.
They have to deal with us. And so, last year we got lucky. We had also, the legendary PJ, who is a well-known legend at Halloween Horror Nights and Universal Orlando. And this year we got lucky with Avalon. And every year you're going to get a really good tour guide. So if it's worth your time, definitely check it out. And what are you thinking?
Hey, like Friends and Fiends, let us know if you went on the tours last year. What were your thoughts on?
Yep.
Leave us in the comments and let us know if you enjoyed it. Are you looking forward to HHN 34's tours? Let us know.
That's right. And as always, remember, stay spooky.
Hey everybody, it's me, Labby the Cabbie, right here in Hollywood. Make sure that you subscribe to Blood and Guts HHN. You're gonna love it.